So how's it going, people of YouTube, Facebook, however you might be tuning in today? Welcome to yet another segment of, I'm not sure what to call this new video series I'm doing. Um, Joining me today is actually this is an old friend of mine. I know her actually from high school. Her name is Sarah. She works over at it's called the Tortoise Group.
Correct.
Is that what it's called? I'm sorry, I'm just reading your shirt there.
Yep, Tortoise Group.
Tortoise Group, okay, yeah. And I guess we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So Sarah, tell us about the Tortoise Group and what you do there.
So Tortoise Group is a nonprofit here in Las Vegas. We serve the whole entire state of Nevada, and we work with desert tortoises.
Okay.
So
go on, I'm sorry.
The organization is, I have recently transitioned into the position of executive director. When I first started with Tortoise Group, I came on as the adoption coordinator. Our organization is the only agency that's legally allowed to adopt desert tortoises in the state of Nevada. So that was something really an interesting niche that I was really interested in getting into and was really excited about to start off with. And I still am to this day. Obviously, I've been here for 6 years and I've transitioned through the organization.
Oh yeah. Sounds like you've made quite a lot of leaps and bounds there.
I sure have. I started off as the adoption coordinator, and then I spent some time as our operations manager, and then recently have transitioned into the position of executive director.
Yeah, that's really cool. Definitely something to be excited and proud of. And so, and how exactly did you get involved with working with tortoises?
So I always knew that I wanted to work with animals from a very young age. I always loved being outside. I loved nature, always cared about animals, and I knew that that's the direction I wanted to go. Very broad, obviously. I didn't know, from a young age that I was going to be working with tortoises, but I knew that I wanted to work with animals. And so I figured that's the direction I would start to go in. And then, so I went to school at Northern Arizona University, studying biology with an emphasis in zoology. And from there, I kind of found this niche with desert tortoises, and I just love it.
Yeah, definitely seems like an interesting career path to take, really.
Yes, it definitely has been. I mean, they're fascinating creatures, and I've learned so much, and I continue to learn about desert tortoises every day. I learn something new.
Oh, really? So, yeah. That's really cool to have that type of a career where you're always learning new things. And I mean, hell, I don't know everything about fishing. There's always something else to learn. There's always something else to learn about just any career, really.
I think so. And I also like the nonprofit side of it too, just because even in that aspect, I've been learning how nonprofits operate as I've grown within the organization, and it's something that I've truly enjoyed as well.
Yeah. So I guess kind of building off like we were talking about interesting tortoises, and this is something I'm throwing in there. But what do you find the most fascinating thing about tortoises?
So I mean, they're just like amazing conservationists. They've been in the desert for millions of years, that they've got this really figured out. They can go over a year without having a drink of water, which is insane. And they're just so well adapted to the desert here. There's just a lot of different interesting facts about them that I think is completely insane. But it's also completely insane to me that they're a listed federal species. So they are listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act, and that people can keep them as pets. Like that just was something that completely blew my mind to begin with, and still does to this day. And I mean, that pretty much, that will send me down a rabbit hole if we go down talking about the differences between the captive population that we have to deal with here and the wild population. Because basically what we see here with the captive population is people breeding them in their backyards and an overpopulation. And then we have the wild populations continuing to decline. And, so there's a lot of mixed messaging when it comes to the general public, because they think that if they're breeding them in their backyard, they're helping a conservation effort, when in reality, it's quite the opposite, because those animals can't be placed back out into the wild, and they can actually harm the wild populations really, really badly.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
So
you're
once
probably
the animal is in captivity, it's more prone to being exposed to disease. And oftentimes when people are breeding them in their backyards, we're seeing inbreeding happening. So if those animals are being released, they're potentially sending new diseases out into the wild populations, and also just really messing with genetics.
yeah, 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 and I guess that's something that the average Joe just does not think about and take into consideration.
Yeah, definitely. So there are different head starting programs with different agencies where they do, testing to make sure that they're seemingly healthy. They do blood tests to make sure they're not carrying certain diseases. And, they're taking a lot of different factors into consideration before they're placing those animals back out into the wild. Where if you don't have that background knowledge, you're just dumping an animal that could be carrying a disease and wiping out an entire population.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then I could imagine. I mean, I've heard stories of people releasing their pet piranhas, pet goldfish out into local ecosystems.
And how they can wreak havoc on ecosystems, especially if they're an invasive species like a crayfish. I know that was a really popular one when I was back in elementary school. We used to learn about crayfish in, I think, fifth or sixth grade. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
students would be able to take home the crayfish. And then what was happening is those students were releasing them into ponds and lakes, and they were just wreaking havoc on those ecosystems. And, talk about a science experiment gone completely wrong. I mean, we learn things over generations, and that's definitely something that is just was normalized then, but it's just completely baffling to think about now.
It's funny you to bring it up. Yeah, I was just thinking about all these stupid things we did with them, like we were running them through mazes and stuff in school.
Yep.
And they probably have like nail polish initials painted on their backs too.
Yep. You remember? Yep, that's exactly how they did it.
Oh yes, nothing like Cook County Public Schools. Oh geez. Okay, so yeah, let's see what else I have here. And then you did talk a little bit about your schooling at Northern Arizona University.
Yes, correct.
It was emphasis on biology, you said?
Biology emphasizing in zoology. So I knew that I wanted to emphasize in the animal aspect of biology. I also did undergrad research while I was at Northern Arizona. And when I was doing undergrad research, I was working with mice, which wasn't necessarily my go-to choice. That was what was available. And so essentially what I was doing was measuring dead mice, and we were studying limb morphology, which was pretty cool to work in a lab and see how research was conducted.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to take this. I mean, I remember a little bit about it in high school and elementary school, but it's interesting to then take it to the next level and actually apply it and see how it's actually used in real life.
It certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I've been
Oh,
part of Tortoise Group. I've actually gone on to do more specialized courses with Desert Tortoise Council to learn introductory field techniques with desert tortoises, um, and then some background in becoming an authorized desert tortoise biologist, and then even health assessment training, which is the most advanced course that they offer, and very, very hands-on and very, very requires a lot of work and a lot of dedication and concentration. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work in 1 week, but I'm happy that it's done with. But I had a great time while I was there.
sounds yeah, sounds like it. Um, I guess going off that, and then right after college, what kind of jobs did you have? Right
So it
off the
actually
bat, how'd you build it up to where you are today? Go on.
so it actually took me a while before I found the route of going down and actually obtaining a degree-related job. I was working 3 jobs straight out of college. So when I first moved back to Illinois from Arizona, I went back to my 2 high school jobs and summer jobs at Dairy Queen, at Random Acres, which was a vegetable stand and garden center, which I absolutely loved. I had maintained really good relationships with both of my bosses. I've been very lucky to have worked for really, really good people. And then I also obtained a job serving tables at Claim Jumper. And so I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week and still trying to apply for degree related jobs, but just nothing was biting in Illinois. So I decided to quit all 3 jobs and pick up everything and move to Las Vegas on a whim. I just knew that I needed to go somewhere else, focus on one job, and focus on finding a degree related job. And I got really, really lucky with Tortoise Group because I was definitely qualified for the position, but it was just something that I completely loved from the very beginning. And I always had would be probably working in a lab doing maybe some monotonous work that wouldn't be necessarily the most exciting thing, and that I would have to start somewhere where I wasn't necessarily enjoying my everyday routine. But I mean, that was quite the opposite from when I started with Tortoise Group. So I was very, very lucky in that aspect.
Oh yeah, I'd say so. I guess I will add to that. For those of you watching at home who are just getting out of college, getting out of these universities that you spent a lot of money at, that you've spent a lot of time, a lot of energy at, it is very common to go right back to your high school job. I did too. No shame in that
Nope, there's no shame in it.
whatsoever.
I think it's pretty common actually, and it's unfortunate, but that's kind of how things are. If people get jobs related to their degree straight out of college, then more power to them. That's really, really fortunate. But I mean, in my experience and people that I've talked with, it seems to be like 1 to 3 years before a lot of people are obtaining jobs within their field. So don't get discouraged. Just keep it up.
Yeah, you're definitely living proof that you can. All you have to do is keep on working hard, and you'll eventually get to wherever you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it did take me 3 years. I graduated when I was 22, and I obtained a position with Tortoise Group when I was 25. So it was 3 years after college before I found something that was directly related to my degree.
Yeah, me too. I took me about 3 years myself to find a job in radio.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's
Yeah,
difficult times.
yeah, it was definitely at the time too.
And it was really easy to get discouraged too. I mean, there was definitely times where I just was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a degree in my field. And that was something that I also thought about. If I would have to accept that route, would I be happy? And what else would make me happy if I didn't go the route of obtaining a job within my degree?
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna add another question building off that. So moving out to Las Vegas, that was quite a jump for you.
Yes. I knew that I wanted to go somewhere new, that I didn't know anyone who lived here, because I wanted that initial excitement and nerves and everything that I experienced when I first went off to college. And I had explored and played with the idea of different places, but I did land on Las Vegas because there was some level of comfort. At the time, my aunt and some of my cousins still lived in Southern California, so they were a 3.5 hour drive from Vegas. And I still had a lot of friends and still have a lot of friends that live in Flagstaff and Phoenix. So it's a nice buffer around me, but something that was new and exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, those of you listening to this at home, if you ever want to live out somewhere, move out to somewhere, make that jump. Don't be afraid to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like Las Vegas seems really crazy to a lot of people. I mean, I thought my parents were going to be like, there's no way. No, you're not moving to Las Vegas of all places, because Las Vegas does have a reputation, obviously.
For
But
Elvis
people that
impersonators.
live here, it's different. You know, it's not like living on the strip. You're not living in a casino and gambling and partying every day. But the biggest draw for me was that Las Vegas is literally surrounded by wilderness. We're in a valley. We've got mountains 45 minutes away, so I can drive up to snow today if I wanted to. Obviously, there's no snow in the middle of summer, but right now there still is snow on the mountain. And we've got the Colorado River that's about 45 minutes away. We've got the Lake Mead that's about 45 minutes away. And we've got all these other awesome destinations like hot springs. And I am obsessed with the desert. I love the desert so much.
Yeah, sounds like a real match made in heaven for you.
It has been.
Yeah, same here with me in Wisconsin.
Well, I see your pictures all the time too, and then I'm like, oh, I kind of miss the trees and all the water. And I mean, it looks like a good time out there too. So I guess maybe it's just a matter of just loving where you live, no matter where you live.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, home is where you can hang your hat up.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess I guess I'll just go ahead and ask this one final question. I think you've pretty much answered it several times already, but what would be the one piece of advice that anyone who wants to work with tortoises, what advice would you give to them?
I would give them the advice that if you're looking to work with specifically desert tortoises, you want to move within their natural range, which would be California, Nevada, Arizona, or a very small part of Utah, and try to get some hands-on experience. You can volunteer with different organizations. Our organization, different government agencies also have volunteer opportunities to get the experience that you really want, and will give you a nice kind of push ahead of the rest of the crowd. There's definitely a lot of work to be had as far as desert tortoises are concerned, just because they are listed, as I mentioned before. So all of the construction sites have to hire biologists to do surveys for desert tortoises as well. They're required to do that.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. I guess I keep saying just one more question. Anything else you'd like to add? Just in general.
I don't know. I mean, I think that it's just important for anyone, whatever career path that you're choosing to take, is just, we all have times where we feel discouraged, but endurance always wins the race. And sometimes you do have to take a step back or take a break from things, and that's okay. It doesn't matter how long it takes, just keep with it.
Hey, just like the tortoise and the hare.
Yep. Slow and steady wins the race.
By the way, have you ever contacted a rabbit rescue group and
tried to do some type of fundraiser?
them?
That would be actually a really good idea. But no, we haven't done anything with a rabbit rescue or anyone that works with rabbits. We have worked with other organizations that have rabbits, but not specialized in rabbits.
Yeah, that's funny. I had to ask that. Well, I guess I'll do it for this little interview here. And Sarah, I appreciate you taking time out from your busy life, busy schedule, and being on my show here.
Thanks. I really appreciate you having me on the show, Matt. It was really awesome of you to ask me to come on. I was really excited, and thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh yeah, it's been a pleasure here too. Oh, and then thanks again for joining me on this segment of. Still not sure what I'm going to call this show. Definitely a break from what I typically do. I know Mike's not around. Shout out to you, Mike. But once again, thanks again for joining me. On behalf of Sarah at Tortoise Rescue Group, thanks again. Until next time, I am Matt Gerloff, signing off. I hope to see you out there.